Welcome back to the Gridiron. We're going to start here with Connor Holcomb. Let's start talking about the Friday night game at Carroll. It was Carroll's homecoming. It's always a nice place to play down there. I'm not really thrilled with the way they got their stands, their seating. They got kind of, their bleachers are kind of separated, but nice facility, great atmosphere. Nothing better than Friday night football in Indiana. And yeah, the homecoming was, I don't know if you had a chance to see this if you were still in the locker room, but did you know they dropped 4 skydivers?
Yes,
onto the field?
I saw the advertisement out there for that. I did it my sophomore year. I remember they did that also. So
yeah, they brought the ball, they landed right at the 50-yard line. I don't have the guts to jump out of a plane like that. They'd have to shove me, but it was a pretty cool evening. Well, Carroll, unfortunately for us, they won their homecoming. The final score was Carroll 24, East Noble 20. Connor is a star lineman. Let's go back to the beginning of the summer and your injury. For you that don't know Connor, he suffered I think he got hurt during the baseball season.
Yes.
And he had most of the summer, you know, with that scenario. I'll let him explain exactly what happened, and I think he's been back now I think he came back to Homestead game, if that's correct.
Yes, that's correct. Well, it was May 11th. It was baseball practice. I slid into second base, and I tore every ligament in my ankle. I went to the hospital. They didn't think it was that bad. They told me 3 to 6 weeks I'd be back on the field. But that next Monday, that had to happen on a Friday, I went back until Monday to see a specialist, and he came in and he told me I tore every ligament in my ankle and I probably wouldn't play any of the football season. He said, maybe you might get a chance to play sectionals, but it's not looking good. And then he said, you're done with school, you got to go get surgery a week from that day. And then I had surgery that Friday, and then I had 7 cadaver parts put in my ankle to reattach. He said there was nothing left inside of my ankle to repair. So the only thing holding it together was the Achilles tendon and skin.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
So your first game back was the Homestead game?
It was Homestead game.
So that was what, game 2?
That'd be game
3.
3.
Okay.
I was back for week 2, but I had to get 10 practices in before I could play.
Right, that's an HSAA rule,
right.
Correct.
So I had to wait 2 weeks before I could play.
Okay.
That was Homestead week.
And you're obviously a big guy. We need you on the line. How big are you?
I'm 6'2", 230.
Okay. And who's on the line with you? Who are your teammates?
I got Damon Butler is at center, and then Reese Hobson just returned. He returned to the Homestead game also, and he's at right tackle. He's big. He's probably 6'5", 250. And then we had Brandon Jost at left guard, and then Clayton Badsky at left tackle, and Drake Mute sometimes fills in at left guard or wherever we need him, and then Tommy Waker's at tight end.
Okay, now with your offense, with this hurry up, shotgun, whatever you want to call it, get as many plays in a game, I like it. I think it's great.
It's great.
And I like not waiting for the clock to run 25 seconds off.
Yes.
I mean, let's play some ball. I mean, that's great. You probably got to love that attitude.
Oh yeah, I love it. It was interesting. Friday night, a guy lined up over me goes, how do you remember all this? I go, we just practiced it a lot. It was, they just don't know what's coming, and it's great. You can read their defense quickly. And it's
now,
nice.
from a technical position, I'm not real smart, Connie. You're smarter than I am. You're going to have to explain this to me. Now, obviously you know what the play is. I mean,
right.
The defensive guys don't. You've got the ball. I mean, you run the ball, you pass the ball. How are your blocking packages? Explain how they're different, and which one do you like? Which one do you prefer? Is it easier to pass block, to run block?
Well, pass block is probably easier in my opinion, but running, you never know where the ball is going to go on our offense.
Okay.
So you just have they give you a number to block. But
So it's like an audible.
Right, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you run the ball, you just get a play, and then you block that scheme, but you don't know if the ball is going to go left or right because the running back reads the hole for you.
Gotcha.
So you have to stick on your block no matter what, or you'll get yelled at.
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously, let's talk about the game here a little bit. Carroll, obviously, they basically won the game on 2 kickoff returns, an 86 and an 81-yard TD. And as Dick mentioned earlier, before we started, the opening kickoff, they ran that back to the 40, so they almost had 3 kickoff returns. And then obviously in a close, tight game, an emotional game like their homecoming, big plays will kill you. The stats of the game really favored East Noble. I mean, we totally dominated them. They had 31 rushes for 52 yards. They only ended up with a total of 146 yards. 94 passing is all. Talk about our defense. Our defense is really phenomenal.
They really stepped up Friday. I was very proud of them. I believe they only had 6 first downs, and compared to our 18. So when our defense really stopped and our offense really needed to punch it in, we got down to the red zone a few times where we should have scored, but we did not. The defense really stepped up. At the end of the game, it was close, but I mean, we had our opportunities to get the score, and we shouldn't have had to wait to that last defensive opportunity at the end.
Yeah, Mabel had another career night on offense. Total 234 yards, total yards, 201 receiving, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it just what we talked about. Yeah, you talked about. We got inside the 40 like 4 times. That's probably the key on offense. Obviously, you're on the offensive side of the ball. Man, it was hard to watch because we were so close. We had good field position. We just couldn't punch it in. You know, we had a couple turnovers. We had a couple 4 and outs. It would have been nice to get some field goals down there.
It would have definitely been nice to get some field goals, but it happens. We usually better at offense. I mean, we could rely on our offense to get first downs sometimes. I think that's what Coach was trying to get, maybe score again instead of taking a field goal and taking the risk of maybe shooting it right or left. So we tried to punch it in.
Yeah, from a statistical battle here, I mean, you guys totally dominated them. You know, we had 357 yards. They had 146. They also had a ton of penalties. I'll tell you, that was a long game sitting there. I looked at my watch and I couldn't believe how late it was. Obviously, it wasn't a high-scoring game, but there were a ton. They had a ton of penalties.
Yes.
I think your hurry-up offense confuses people.
Yes.
And you know, the defense, the pressure you're putting on the other opposing teams, they hold. They make a lot of mistakes.
Yes, and we also made some mistakes though too with some holding calls. But yeah, we do catch them off guard a lot. They get nervous. You can just see people run around all the time on the defense, and I love when Nick starts saying set go, and then they're still running around. It really catches them off guard, and you can get your blocks a lot easier that way. So. And
we also had a lot of receivers that actually dropped passes, which surprised me.
Big plays with the receivers that they drop some balls, but it happens.
Now explain this term. I didn't know our defense is called the roughneck defense. Where'd that name come about? Is that a self-made name?
Yeah,
somebody nicknamed. I was unaware of that.
That's Kempf, and that's Coach Kempf and the defense. They decided that, and they figured that out. In the offense, we call ourselves the Nightmare. So every practice, we're like, okay, let's go beat the Roughnecks, and then they always go, we're going to create a nightmare for you.
Well, he was pretty intense on that sideline.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets your attention. I mean, he's yelling. Everybody's listening. I mean, he's not yelling at him. He's just motivated.
He has great enthusiasm. He's great.
Yeah.
He works hard at getting us pumped up and trying to get the defense to stop him. So they did just that on Friday.
Okay, now let's talk about your conference here. Now you're 3-2 on the season.
Yep.
We have our homecoming this Friday, correct?
Correct. We play Norwell.
And they're, I believe, winless. Is that correct? Yeah. Oh, they're on 5. So, but our conference is still pretty. Columbia City routed DeKalb.
Yes,
New Haven's undefeated. They're always good. There again. You're probably aware of this. With Harding closing,
right?
They got a lot of those kids, so they've got a. Yeah. New Haven's not what it used to be. I mean, they got half a Harding's team.
Yeah, that's affected them in many sports. Actually.
Absolutely, basketball as well.
Basketball as well.
So obviously, your focus right now is on Norwell.
Yes, that'll be our focus.
You're going to come out running a lot of plays as usual.
Yep.
You ran, how many plays did you run last week? 82.
Yeah, we try to get over 80. That's our goal, 80 or 90. So.
Well, I thought he said 90, but that's a lot of plays.
That's a lot of plays, but if you can run that many plays, you usually win the game. So that's.
And we had some guys play both ways too, right?
Yes, we did. We had Mabel played both ways. He played defense and offense, and then Drake came in at the end and played some left guard. So. He had a great night at defense. He made some big plays. I watched on film last night, and he had some great plays for us.
You ran 50. Let's see here. How many? I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, 82 total play. That's a lot. I mean, what kind of shape are you in? I mean,
we condition quite a bit, but
it's got to be tough on a lineman now.
Yeah, it is, but you get used to it from practicing mostly. I mean, the conditioning sometimes isn't as bad as the actual team that we do at the end of practice, where we ones versus ones, which is really, I think, gets us in the most shape, get ready for a game on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there anything in the Carroll game per se that surprised you, or that you didn't expect, or were they pretty much what you thought they were?
Yes, they were very much what we thought they were.
I know their coach is fairly new. He's only been there, I think, 3 years. Dinan.
Yeah,
Doug Dinan. I think he came from Snyder.
Yeah, he did. I think you're right. They're probably the biggest team we've played on defensively. They're probably the biggest team we've played so far this year. Nothing really off guard. We practiced pretty much everything they did this week, and well, they knew what we were doing too. You could just tell by sometimes they'd call our plays out for us. So they've obviously scouted us pretty well. So they knew what we were doing. But yeah, we knew what they were doing. I believe the defense really practiced hard this week too. They called like they always kept an eye on like the biggest guy in the line. He always called him like Tubbs, and it was a fun week. So
now tell me, what do you know about Walker Boyles? He seems crazy out there. He plays like his hair's on fire.
I've never seen a guy like him. He's completely nuts, in my opinion. But he just works his butt off for us, and coaches really see him as being a great player, and he makes some serious hits. He's not afraid of anything. He does some crazy stuff in practice. He makes some huge hits. And he had a problem with his bicep this week, I believe, but he still played, and he looked just as good as I thought this Friday as he did the last few games. So he really works hard.
Well, let's talk about Nick a little bit. He works here at the Gridiron.
Yes, he does.
25 for 55, 304 yards is good. 2 TDs. He did have 3 picks. Receiving, Mabel 14 for 201, 2 touchdowns. Munden had 3 catches for 48 yards. Lake Clark 3 for 34. Fox 4 for 11, and Eli 1 for 10. He spreads the ball around. And we did have a few drops, and they did apply some pressure, though. Their defense is pretty good.
Their defense is good. They have those couple brothers, the Truewells, the 1 and 2. They're good. They're good defensive players, and they did have a good secondary against us. So.
And who was that? I can't remember if he's a tight end or wide receiver. That real tall kid. Was he about 6'4"?
Yeah.
He's a pretty tall target.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and our secondary. I mean, we got some guys back there that are quick. And Nate's not real big.
No, but he's still pretty quick, and he held him down pretty well.
And Nate's been playing really well.
Yeah, he did.
He's had a couple interceptions so far.
Yes, he has. He had a big one the other night. Was that last week?
Yes.
Yeah, he had a big one last week. That was huge. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think he had one against Homestead as well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Well, here we are at the Gridiron. Come on out. Colts game in about a half hour. We're going to get into them here shortly, but it was a tough game. It was a great game to be at. We totally outplayed them. Statistically, it was just a tough loss. Very heartbreaking. It was 17-12 Carroll at the half, and that was a little deceiving because you guys had all the numbers.
Right.
As soon as we scored, I think there's 5-6 minutes to go in the game. We kicked off. Mm-hmm. They ran it back. And that basically was the difference, 24-20. 2 of those were special teams touchdowns, and otherwise you win 20-10.
Yeah.
So, we got to focus in on Norwell now, and it should be a good homecoming for us. And we'll be back for the Colts part of the show in just a minute here at the Gridiron. Come on out.